Blog Talk Radio.
He is the last of his kind. All that remains of a once powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Hello, everyone. This is Rahchamah, and you are on Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. We're going to have a very, very fulfilled interview for you today with special guest Tarhaka, Amaana El-Bey, and we also have Prince Osiris. Jamel Osiris will be here with us today as well. Right before we get started with today's broadcast, we're going to run a few commercials, and we will return right after this commercial break. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. Again, today we are going to have special guest Tarhaka Amaana El Bay, as well as Prince Jamel Osiris, and we're going to be discussing several different things today as far as foreclosure, child support, contract law, driver's license, freedom of right to travel, discuss some of the personal experiences from today's guest in reference to utilizing certain procedures and their personal experience with going through some of these issues, as well as student loans and dealing with citizenship and nationality. I hope that you had an opportunity to listen to our commercials so that we could be able to patronize these wonderful businesses, and they can give you resolutions for your personal and your business needs. Again, my name is Rahchamah, and you are on the Conscious Couch. If anyone during the broadcast at one point in time would like to ask any questions, you can always raise your hand, and we will tune you in when we have a break and an opportunity. So for right now, I'm going to chime in our first guest, which is Tarhaka Amaana El Bay. Are you on the line? Please hold for a moment and listen to this commercial while we tend to some technical issues. Hi, I'm Rahchamah. Need office space, a business phone system, or a business address for your home-based, mobile, online, expanding, or downsizing business? Go to www.businessfront.space. You can reserve fully furnished private office or meeting space by the hour, utilities and Wi-Fi included. Reserve now at www.businessfront.space. Never miss your mail with our informed delivery service. No matter where you are in the world, sign up for a physical address today at www.businessfront.space. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, back to the show. This is your host, Rahchamah, and you're on the Conscious Couch. We have special guests today, Tarhaka Amaana El Bay and Prince Jamel Osiris. We apologize. We had a little technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. But again, I wanted to discuss some of the great topics that we will be reviewing today, which is about foreclosures, child support, contract law, driver's license, freedom of right to travel, personal experiences from our guests in reference to these subjects and how they were able to use certain remedies to rectify their issues. Student loans, dealing with citizenship and nationality. I'm going to bring in our first guest, which is Tarhaka Amaana El Bay. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Rahchamah?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you today? Happy birthday to you.
Thank
so we have
you.
to see
Thank
today
you.
is your day. We celebrate you. We celebrate your life and to renewing and bringing in life with the many different things that you do, that you dedicate day in and day out to helping give results to everyone else's. Thank you. Yay. So, everyone is familiar with Tarhaka and Tarhaka's show, and I am glad to have you as a guest on the Conscious Couch today. And the Conscious Couch is a place where people of a conscious mindset sit around and discuss about our common social ills, and we also come up with remedy to rectify our situations and move forward with economic development, social reform, things of that nature. So in reference to that, Tarhaka, I want to ask you, because I know everyone that is listening is so familiar with everything that you do, I want to ask your personal experiences that you have encountered out of, let's say, foreclosures, child support, driver's license, freedom of right to travel, student loans, if it's applicable, dealing with citizenship and nationalities. Before you came up with your remedies, what was your school of thought that you had to put into practice for your situation and at that particular time? So we're going to start there. What was your school of thought for your issues, and name some of those subjects that you had to encounter?
Well, I could have started with freedom of right to travel. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And because at every turn, it was like, stop sign, I owe you money. If I don't cut my blinkers on at a turn signal, then I owe you money. If I don't have insurance, I owe you money. If I do this, if I have a brake light out, and then you're going to come up behind me, declare an emergency, pull me over, and I owe you money. And so I knew something was wrong, and then I found out how the people were being robbed through a national system of policing in a police state. And then I began to do an investigation, and I ran across a DVD disc that was showing me that the only individuals that needed a driver's license was someone that was acting driving in commerce. But a person that's traveling in a normal conveyance that's not operating in commerce did not need a driver's license. So what I did was I did an investigation, and I started out, I created my own identification, created my own place to put on my vehicle because I was not operating in commerce, so there was no need for me to have a driver's license. During that time, my driver's license had been suspended, which was not my driver's license at all. It tells you that on the driver's license it's the property of the state. So I didn't have it in my possession. There's no need for me to use it. I've asked the police to tell me, paying me to drive, and I never got an answer to that. So I knew something was wrong. So I ended up dealing with the sheriff on the issue. He had a law firm, and I confronted the law firm with the same issue, and everybody disbanded, and they backed off and decided not to pursue it anyway. But then I found out that there was more to it than that. It also involves state property. When you buy a vehicle, that vehicle is registered to the state, so you have to make sure that it's deregistered from the state. I also found out that you need to return their contract to them, which is the license. That's their contract, so you want to return that back to them and get confirmation from them that you are not involved in commerce and that you will be traveling in your conveyance on a normal basis, and there's no need for a driver's license. So that's what I went through with that, and then I ran into the I did another investigation because I ran into the mortgage thing, the foreclosure thing.
Now, right before we move on to that subject, I want to just ask a few questions about your experiences with your driver's license issue, your right to travel issue that you just explained to us. Now, from my investigations at the DMV, which here in Florida, which is where we're home based, is called Department of Motor Vehicles, they said that whenever you have a vehicle that is yours, which is called your private vehicle, in their database, they register it as private. There's a spot in there. They turn the computer around to me. It's checked private. So, and then if it's commercial, then it's checked commercial because they ask you, is it for personal or business use? Now, knowing that they have this information in their database where it's your conveyance is checked as private, and they don't have an area in there that says conveyance. It just says vehicle. And I asked them when we were going back and forth, well, even though it's private, it cannot be under those regulated under commerce. They said, well, commercial is any vehicle that is over 5,000 tons. So if you have a vehicle that is under 5,000 tons, that's the only way we designate what's commercial and what's not commercial. So to them, in short, private is any vehicle that is under 5,000 tons, and commercial is anything over. So knowing that information I'm telling you now, how can you see what they're doing or how they are understanding or misunderstanding the terminology between rights to travel and driving versus the size or the type of the vehicle in use?
Well, one thing that we have to keep in mind is what I try to tell people all the time. Everything in America operates on a continuous series of contracts. And anyone that formulates a contract, that contract is designed to benefit them. So what you're running into with the DMV, the driver's license, the police, everybody else, you're dealing with people that is using certain language to benefit them. For instance, when you say vehicle versus conveyance, or you say automobile, or if I'm traveling down the road and you're in the front seat with me, you are my guest. But what they'll want to do is say, well, you are a passenger, which means that we are still operating in commerce, and you need a driver's license. In other words, you need our permission to do this. So what we have to do, and I find it's very, very important, for us to set the record straight and get confirmation that the record is straight. If you have a driver's license, you have a license plate, return the contract to them, void the contract, because what they're doing, just like you said in the DMV, they say, well, vehicle. So when you look up the definition of vehicle, what does it say about a vehicle? Versus automobile or private conveyance. See, it's the words and stuff that they're using. And they use the same thing throughout all the business arena, the courts, the child support, foreclosure, same thing.
Okay, so I just looked up the definition of vehicle, but of course it's Wikipedia. And so it says it's a machine that transports people or cargo. So if they say, okay, you have a passenger or your guest, y'all are people. You may not have any cargo, but you're transporting people. And they said it typically includes wagons, bicycles, motor vehicles, motorcycles, cars, trucks, buses, rail vehicles, trains, watercraft, like ships and boats, aircraft, and spacecraft. But then another definition says that it's someone traveling or carrying or being conveyed. So
what they're doing is, if you look in Black's Law Dictionary, certain other dictionaries that they're using, you have to look at every angle that they're coming from to determine what language they're using and from where did it come. For instance, if I say the word rectum, well, everybody will feel like, well, that has something to do with us individually. But in the court, it means something totally different, you see. So we look at where they're getting the definitions from.
Right.
So you're
right. Well, I do remember that there was some law. Right. I do remember there was some law that was saying that within the right to travel, I believe it was Supreme Court law that was saying that you have the right to freely travel unencumbered. And I remember saying that to a police officer, and he told me, he said, yeah, you have the right to travel, but on these roads that we govern, you can't ride on those. Now, you can go through someone's yard and get to where you need to go. But with fences these days, this is what he said. But with fences, I don't know how you're going to make it there. And if they have a problem with you cutting through, but you can't ride on these roads that we govern and maintain. I thought that was pretty.
This is how they maintain slavery. This is how they maintain slavery. So what you do is you define everything. You go back and you define. Let's look at the origin of the police, the beginning, because you discover that their origins have not changed since their inception. It's the same thing. They were put in place to catch runaway slaves. So it's all engaged in slavery, and they use the word commerce to attach some form of legitimacy to it. But traveling, that's a whole different thing, and you need confirmation. You need to make sure that these contracts are canceled and that you are traveling, and that anyone interfering with that becomes liable. And that's what happened with the sheriff. I made him liable if I'm detained X amount of dollars, if I'm handcuffed X amount of dollars, if I'm transported and put inside a room with steel and concrete X amount of dollars, if I'm fingerprinted, if I'm photographed X amount of dollars. And I'm holding him personally liable for that because he is the only officer of the law. He was elected by the people. The rest of them are private contractors. They have bonds, surety bonds, hazard bonds, and all this stuff. And the best way to deal with that, when you have a problem with a slave catcher or a highwayman, you go ahead and make sure that you get those bond numbers, and then you can work with that to file a complaint against that bond number so that bond can be canceled. And that'll be the end of that particular slave catch.
Now let's talk about the contract. You're saying returning the contract and everything. So when they speak about the driver's license, they say the only thing the driver's license does is it tests you on your road performance and make sure you can, travel in a straight line or drive in a straight line. You're not going to run people off the road and, swipe people's cars. And also that you understand road rules. You see the sign, it means stop, turn, slow down, or whatnot. And therefore, at the end of the testing, as far as in writing and in a physical driving test, that you are considered a safe driver. And so they give you this card saying, the only thing they say that it says is that you have been tested, written, and physically that you are a safe driver. You understand these road rules, and you know how to operate this less than or over than 5,000-ton vehicle or machine, rather. What is your take on that? So if you rescind, so my question is, which is a double question, if you rescind that in one aspect, are you saying that the contract you're rescinding is saying that you are not going to obey these road rules and you're not going to abide by them, or
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Can they ticket you for driving without a license?
Well, first of all, what I'm saying is, the first thing I'm saying by returning the contract or canceling the contract is that I'm attempting to abide by the law. Where people get off and get off the track at is they misunderstand the difference between legal and legal, illegal and legal, and they think that it has something to do with the law. It has absolutely nothing to do with the law. Legal and illegal has to do with statutes, ordinances, rules, and regulations. If I'm returning, which is just exactly what they say they are, rules and regulations that somebody has imposed upon you. When I return their contract or cancel a contract or opt out of their contract, I'm saying to them that I'm perfectly capable of handling myself. I'm not incompetent. I'm a competent individual, and I'm going to drive with, operate my conveyance, or travel in my conveyance with all safety. I'm perfectly capable of doing that. I do not need someone permission to do something that I was born to do by law as a right. These what we're talking about is a right. The Constitution of the United States does not give us any right. What it does is it protects the rights that we were born with. We have a right to travel. When you hear somebody says, "Well, it's illegal," and most policemen who are masquerading as officers of the law, they use the word, "Well, Florida law says this and Florida law says that," but there is no law. What they're telling you is our rules and regulations and guidelines, provided you have our contract. You had entered into a contract that benefits us. If you have that contract, if you're part of that contract, then you're under what is legal and illegal, and is masquerading as law, which has absolutely nothing to do with the law. And the reason I'm saying this is because I asked the judge. He asked me, "How did I plead?" I said, "Well, I plead not guilty only because I want to come back, be given an opportunity to come back inside this courtroom before you and place on the table the difference between legal and illegal and the law." He would not allow me to do that. He told me, in order for you to do that, you're going to have to come down here 15 different times. I said, "Well, no, I'm not going to do that, because I don't need all that, because it don't take me but 5 minutes to put the difference between legal, illegal, which has absolutely nothing to do with the law, and the law, which are your born rights. You have a right to travel. You have a right to freedom. You have a right to nationality. You have a right to change your nationality." So you have to look at the terminology and what you have a right to do.
Right. Now, I wanted to touch bases on, I think it's a unique combination of what we have going on in Jacksonville, Florida, because as you know that the police department was consolidated into the city and consolidated into the sheriff's office. So they're now deputized, right? So now the what used to be the police department are walking around as deputized sheriffs and having the same capabilities of carrying out the duties that the sheriff has been doing, on top of carrying out the policies, rules, municipal ordinances of the city. So, with that being said, there was I think if you could clear up for some of our listeners, and I'm sure many of them have ran into this issue where they've tried to break down when they're in a situation, the terminology between driving and operating a vehicle versus traveling in their vehicle versus conveyance. But then I even had this situation where the judge was saying, well, when you get behind the wheel or when you're in your conveyance, how do you make it move? What is the operation that you're doing when you're making it move? Is it driving? Is it operating? Because those are terms that fall under their terminology. So tell us, what is the terminology of explaining what it is that you're doing when you're inside of your conveyance and making it move? What fall up under their contract law?
Well, under their contract law, which is based on their contract and which benefits them, they are switching everything around to make it appear that you are driving instead of traveling. That's the bottom line, because if you are traveling, that means that you are out of the commerce game. You cannot be taxed without repercussion. You have a legitimate right to sue them if they interfere with the right that you were born with. So it all ties to the contract. The verbiage is designed to benefit them, and it's tied to the contract. It's all about the contract. So what we have to do is we have to create our own contract that benefits us based on and rooted and grounded in the law and your right to do what you got. You have a right to bear arms. You have a right to travel. So you put down the law, and the way I do it is I just simply list the law, and then I ask them to if I do not have this right, please print and sign your name here and put the date. I just need you to do that, because when you do that, now I have a contract with your signature involving law, which means that you have made an attempt to interfere with the rights that I was born with. You are now officially liable, and I can sue you.
So basically, you're saying that there's no justification for you to define what it is that you're doing behind or inside of your conveyance to make it move. And we all know that they're not going to sign anything that they give us, but they want us to sign whatever they give us and threaten to arrest us if we don't sign it.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. The way I do it is I send it to them certified mail with return receipt, and they'll sign for it, and then the return receipt comes to me. So now I have proof that you got it, and I attach it to a copy of what I sent you in the form of a lawful, mind you, a lawful stamped, notarized, and witnessed affidavit, and an unrebutted affidavit stands as true. So now what we want to do is put this on the table as evidence, clearly showing that this was sent to you certified mail using the Postal Service. You signed for it. It got in your hand. The ball is in your court. You have a lawful affidavit. You're now officially under obligation to either rebut the affidavit or refuse to rebut the affidavit, which means if you refuse, the affidavit stands as true. That's my contract.
Now, that is a situation is that like proactively before you get in that situation, or reactively after you've gotten in the situation you're going to court? What is it that we have for those people that are in the middle, in between? They're like, they haven't done it proactively, and they haven't went to court yet, but they're put up on the side of the road from this police officer trying to defend their right to travel, and they're just in between verbal conversation right now.
Well, that's not.
And they need to.
That's not where to defend your right to travel. You don't defend your right to travel there. What I try to get people to understand is to go ahead. If you have a driver's license and you are not using that driver's license to operate in commerce, go ahead and return that contract to them. Make copies of it. Formulate a letter with your questions in it. This is pretty much some of what happened to Mr. Charlie Sprinkle in California. The cop pulled him over and asked me if he had a driving license. He said, no, I don't have a driving license because I don't need one. And the guy wrote him a ticket. And so he took a copy of the ticket. He wrote a letter to Ronald Reagan, who was governor of California at the time, and told Ronald Reagan that he needs him to get this ticket dismissed and to get this guy, this cop, off of him because he's violating his rights. But Ronald Reagan turned around and signed a letter and sent back to him, told him that he was breaking the law by not having a driver's license. So this guy sued him, his wife, and about 16 other people in the court of law. Ronald Reagan came to town trying to get the lawsuit lifted. He couldn't get it lifted because the judge said, ain't that your signature on that letter right there? He said, yes, it is. He said, I can't throw this out. He said, because if I throw this out, he'll sue me, and he'll win. So you got to try to figure out another way to get this off of you because you taking your wages under false pretense. They could not get the suit dismissed, so the Secret Service came to his house and told him, said, if you drop the lawsuit. And, oh, by the way, not only did he sue the men, he sued their wives too. So it was a big mess. But they came to his house and told him, say, if you drop the lawsuit, we give you the run on the road. He said, I'll take it under advisement. And when they left, he got in his boat car and blew past the state trooper driving almost 100 miles an hour and blowing his horn. And the state trooper got behind him and pulled him over. And they say, what you doing? He said, probably about 100. He said, what's your name? He said, you got a driver's license? He said, no. He said, what's your name? He said, my name's Charlie Sprinkle. He said, no, Mr. Sprinkle, I just pulled you over to see if you needed any assistance. He said, no, I think I can handle it from here. That was the end of that. He drive anywhere, operate anywhere he want to go. See, because he had a right to travel. That's the law. He was born with that. We're not talking about legal and illegal. That ain't got nothing to do with the law. That's armed robbery.
So basically, you're saying that if someone encounters our officer when they're trying to give them a ticket and all of those things, that is not the place. If it's not a situation where they're going to jail, like, here in Florida, if you're knowingly driving on a suspended license, it's an arrestable offense with a $1,000 fine and you're in jail. So if it's not that type of situation where it's an arrestable offense, basically you're saying take the ticket, fight it in court on this road, on the street is not the place.
Well, no, what I do with a ticket, what I do with a ticket in a 72-hour rule, I'll take the ticket and I'll inform the private contractor that I cannot sign this. I'll accept it from you, but I can't sign it. And I'll just take it and write across the face, no contract refusal, contract denied. And I'll put a copy of my letter along with that and proof that I'm not bound to any of these contracts. All of these contracts have been canceled, and attach a certificate of service to it and file it with the clerk's office. And then I will contact the Department of Financial Services and request his bond number. So I can go ahead and get that bond number. That's where I'll do that.
So contact the Department of Financial Services in order to get the bond number.
Department of Family Services. You want the bond number. I had a situation with the bail bonds office, and I contacted them and explained to them what they had done, and they gave me their bond number, and I drew up a letter and sent it to them and let them know, here's your bond number. I have it in my hand. It's all over. You're done, son. But I didn't follow up on that because I noticed that their building was strategically located closest to any other bail bondsman to the jail. So, and I know they're housing a great deal of my people. So I decided not to close the doors on that bail bond office, but I wanted them to know that I did have the power and the knowledge of what to do about you when you violate me.
I do want to say that a lot of people have heard the cliche, knowledge is power. And my intake on it is knowledge is not power, it's just a tool. And the application of knowledge or the application of those tools is what is power. So I commend you for making that decision to not close the doors of opportunity for other people. And I think that made an impression on that bail bond company where if they ran across someone else like you or yourself, that they were more conscientious on the way that they do contracts as well. It was about one more issue under this title. We'll move on to the next scenario that I wanted to ask. You were saying that after you returned the contract that you needed to take the plates and, send them back, or you were saying that you had put some plates on your vehicle. I know a lot of people that have been stopped and their plates have been confiscated for creating their own plates and putting them on their vehicle. And so do you think that the main problem is that when an officer gets behind you and they pull those plates, that they cannot pull up your information? So you think that is what the real problem is? And do you think that there's a solution where your information could link up so that they could look up your information, or the whole purpose is to put the plates on to fit in with all of the other vehicles and not have your information pulled up? So I know there's about 3-4 questions in one, but I know you got it under control.
Well, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. The most important part of all of it is to go ahead and cancel the contracts, get confirmation from the Secretary of State and the Governor of the fact and proof that you have sent these contracts back to them. If you got a driver's license, give it back to them with a letter explaining what you're going to do. You can put in a photograph of your conveyance, the manufacturer of your conveyance. You can put in the law, your right to travel. You can give them a copy of your ID, what ID that you're going to be traveling with, and a copy of the plates that you're going to be traveling with. This is what I done for the sheriff. He had all of this information. Now, in other words, I'm not hiding from you. I've created my own contract because the United States of America does not interfere with a man's right to make contracts. So I created that contract and sent that over there to him. But he was shocked because he had never seen someone who's being regarded as a slave creating this type of contract and opting out these contracts and canceling these contracts and removing the shackles of slavery from himself. That's your first step. Opt out the contract. You want proof of mailing. You want copies of the proof. You want the sheriff put on notice. You want the governor put on notice. Everybody on notice because you're not hiding from anybody. And now you're officially ready to travel. And what you're hoping for somebody to interfere with your right to travel.
Okay, awesome, beautiful. So now we're going to go into the discussion of, I believe it was a foreclosure issue is the subject matter that you were getting ready to go in before. What was your situation that you had with a foreclosure? Because I have some very interesting subcategories and topics and questions that I would like to ask in reference to some known experience from some people in reference to foreclosures. But you go ahead and tell people your personal experience that you had with foreclosure. And also, before we leave from off of that, my last question on the driver's license would be this. The remedy that you said that you used, how did you find out about that remedy before? Was it something that you created from on yourself, or you had mentors before you?
Well, no, I had somebody that mentioned to me that we had the right to travel. I didn't know anything about it. And they said they had a guy, he was a Moor, on DVD, and he gave me a copy of it. And I went home and I looked at that thing for maybe about 50 different times over and over and over because it was unbelievable. I knew something was wrong in America, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And then I found out what it was. It is actually an instrument that simply strangles the general public. It is an instrument of robbery. It has nothing to do with law. Nothing. So, we automatically, with that document, when you sign up for that, you are telling them that I am incompetent. I cannot travel safely. I ain't got sense enough to come to a stop at a stop sign. I don't have sense enough.
And I need for you to watch out for me to make sure. And I need for you to watch out for me to remind me about what I'm doing wrong when I'm not abiding by all of the rules that's supposed to be common sense. So basically the DVD that you viewed, it did not say, just like you were telling the audience, you need to return the contract, you need to do X, Y, and Z. It was just telling you about the problem. Is that correct?
Say that again now.
So the DVD that you viewed, it was just telling you and enlightening you about the problems, but it did not give you a remedy like you were telling the audience before.
No.
So how did you come up with your remedy?
Well, I was using what's called common sense, and then I began to investigate contract and contract law. I started dealing with that, and then I got into rights and freedom of rights. Then I looked at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I started looking at different things, and I discovered that there was a difference between legal and lawful, and I found out what they were doing. They were controlling the people through contracts, and so I began to think and study. I looked up and found out about the legalese and the language they were using when they say, well, do you understand? I didn't know I was supposed to say no. I do not understand. In other words, I do not stand
I
under any authority that you claim to represent.
I actually saw a lady in court, and this was driver license. You know, everybody was there for driver license. A lady actually got her. She was a Caucasian woman, and while everyone is, you know, doing no low contendere, she got up there and you say, "How did you plead?" She said, "I don't understand." The lady asked her, the judge asked her about 3 times, and she was like, she said, "I'm sorry," and she was so passionate. She was so sincere about it. She said, shaking her head in a no fashion, like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. And the judge says, well, I can't move forward with your case or accept the plea if you don't understand. I was like, wow, it's just amazing when you see those things like you're talking about work and you see the outcome. But any other given day, you get all of this pushback, so it was pretty amazing. So moving on to foreclosure, tell us about your situation with foreclosure. This is an actual experience that you had. You went through a foreclosure.
Okay, well, actually what happened before any foreclosure took place, doing my research and study, I began to notice that, and it had been mentioned on the disc that I had about the all-capital letter franchise, so I began to look at that, and I said, well, you know, and I go to the cemetery, and I look at all the all-capital letters on all the gravestones, and these people are dead, but I'm a man. I'm a living, breathing man, and I do not understand. And so I sent a letter to the mortgage company, and I sent along a payment. And I said, there seemed to be a problem. You and I both went to third-grade grammar, and we both was taught by third-grade teacher the difference between a proper noun and an improper noun. A proper noun, when referring to a man or a woman, is always spelled in upper and lowercase letters. But if all the letters are capital, what did they teach us? If all the letters are capital, that indicates anything other than a man or a woman. Property, chattel, slave, corpse, corporation, anything other than a man or a woman. So when you say the woman stood before the judge and she told me, she said, I don't understand because I'm a woman. So I don't understand. So what happened was I sent that letter to them, and they sent a letter back saying, well, it's like that in the computer, and that's the way it come out of the computer. And I said, well, look, you're going to have to make some adjustments and to your computer so that it will address me as a man in upper and lowercase letters. I say, this is exactly how I want to be addressed. And I typed the whole thing up, and I sent it to them. And then they sent it back the same way and constantly regarding me as dead. So what I did next is I sent a lawful affidavit. And when I sent the affidavit, this was in the top of December, and that we were going through this. And right before Christmas, I had made up a notice of fault with an opportunity to cure. And but I didn't mail it because I want the Christmas holidays to go over. After it went over, on the 27th, I mailed out by certified mail a notice of fault with an opportunity to cure because the initial affidavit had not been rebutted. But by the first few days in January, I received a letter from the mortgage company saying that they would no longer be seeking any more funds in regards to a mortgage. I can stay in the property as long as I want, but I'm responsible for paying the property taxes. And then I said, well, let me do an investigation on that, and I found out that was voluntary and illegal also. And that's a whole other story. But they said that they will forward all the necessary documents over to the county recorder's office, and I got that letter from the county recorder stating that the matter is concluded, the end, and here's where I stand. I formulated the contracts, and I turned it around. Now, there are remedies for doing this stuff. You got the 1099 OID, and what people don't understand is when you buy a new home and you sign that promissory note, at that moment in time, your hands are clean. Okay? The house is paid for. You paid for it with your signature. Now, they got 90 days to monetize that signature. And they'll tell you after the signing, after they told you to tell about the bank gonna give you a loan and all of this stuff. they'll tell you that you don't have to make a mortgage payment, your first mortgage payment, until 2 months from now. Okay, because they're trying to let that time lapse so they can monetize their signature. And then they'll send out that first notice for you to pay your mortgage. It is at that time that you formulate your contract and let them know there must be some mistake. The house is paid for. I'm so and so and so on. I could be the authorized representative of all capital franchise, but you are sending something to a man, and the property is paid for, the promissory note. And, of course, what we're looking for at that point, because up until this point, your hands are clean. You're looking for them to send you a letter stating that if you don't pay your mortgage, we're going to foreclose on your property. It is at that point they have dirty hands. They officially got dirty diapers. You can gather that information together, make copies of it. You go downtown and file your lawsuit and get this mess over with. Because when you walk in there, you're walking in with clean hands. That's a done deal.
So basically, your defense when you walk in. So if you're going before a judge, and that's all they do is foreclose on people's houses, they bring the promissory note. What happens when you bring forth your lawsuit, and then the opposing party bring forth the mortgage?
That doesn't have anything to do with anything. You, first of all, your understanding was that you signed the promissory note. You got all your documents dated. You made copies of everything. You got your. They sent you a letter claiming you after you signed the property note. Now you officially owe them some money on a mortgage, but you couldn't possibly owe that because the house was paid for when you signed the promissory note, and you made them fully aware of that. And then they turned around and led you to believe in writing that you were doing something illegal. Now you're going to accept that offer. And your counter offer is a lawsuit with clean hands. All you want to do is put it down so that the magistrate can read it. You're looking at the time, what was said, and looking at the dates and who said it. That's out. That's the end.
Now we know
that
a lot
bringing
of
up
people
a mortgage and none of that don't make no difference.
We know a lot of people are not proactive. Unfortunately, they're reactive. So let's deal with a scenario of someone that may be going through a situation in our listening audience that is on the reactive stage. They went through the foreclosure process. The house has been foreclosed upon, and the time period for the redemption is gone, all of that. So can a person get the home back or get credit for the value of the home?
What you're going to have to do, what you're going to have to do, what you're going to have to do, because what you have allowed them to do, if they've gotten that far and you have not defended yourself, you're going to have to bring them back to the table by suing them for fraud, because there's no statute of limitations on fraud. You want to lay the fraud on the table, and at the meantime, while you got them to the table, you want to go ahead and do your 1099 OID and do that process and go ahead and get this thing taken care of, so that you can either you want to you can go turn around and you can do a rescission on them. You can rescind the original contract, but you're going to have to bring them back to the table for fraud. If you do a rescission, that means every dime that you put in the property had to be returned to you.
Okay, good. So you would get a monetary, you would get the monetary value back, whether if it was in the form of a check or maybe credit. You should expect for them to give you a satisfaction mortgage as well in order to get rid of the foreclosure.
Well, yeah, if you get
a
satisfaction of mortgage, then you got your house back. But if you are rescinding the original contract, then that means that everything that you have paid into this thing, they have to give that back to you. If you pay them $100,000, they owe you $100,000. If you give them $200,000, they owe you $200,000. If you rescind the contract. But the key is to bring them back to the table for fraud. That's why it's important for you to do everything on the back end. If you got a property, you want to do your deed acceptance, do your deed of revocation, close the back door, see who's on your title, all of this stuff, and go ahead and get these people. But it all boils back down to the same thing that I'm talking about: contract. Whoever formulates a contract, that contract is designed to benefit them, not you.
Because of the way that
we have to learn how to
processes have been going on for years. Now, because of the way that processes have been done for years, the whole foreclosure process, and we know the attorneys that have been working on these cases, are they familiar with these processes that you're speaking of, or is this something where they will come and see you in your library and they will be able to get this remedy from you?
Well, no. A lot of attorneys I found out through personal conversation that a lot of these attorneys, they don't know any of this stuff. They're just going through the same process of taking people home, because most people are not knowledgeable of defending themselves. They don't know this stuff, and this is why I try to teach people. But a lot of attorneys simply don't know. You got some attorneys who do know some of this stuff. They know some of this stuff. But if they're not going to pass this information on to the client, because they won't make no money. It's all about money. I had a guy. This guy, he called me on behalf of another woman that had gotten my foreclosure stuff, and she didn't do anything with it. And so she went and contacted this guy. He called me. He said, "Well, I'm a licensed broker. I sell $200,000 to $300,000 homes all day long, and I'm over here, and my wife is this." I said, "Well, that's fantastic." I said, "So before you sell these people these houses, are you making them aware of the fact that they've signed the promissory note? There's no need for a mortgage to give you any money. Have you told the people about the 1099 OID?" He slammed the phone down in my face. So he was aware.
Well, what was his purpose of calling in the first place?
He called himself. She done led him to believe that I had done something wrong and gave her some paperwork that was incorrect. And he called to jump on me about that and began to tell me all about who he was, so I put these questions to him. And that was the end of that. Because he's making money off of people. He ain't about to tell nobody about a 1099 OID. He's not going to tell nobody about clean hands in the promissory note. He ain't going to do that.
Now, where is it that one can go in order to get this remedy for the foreclosure issues from you?
You go to newdebtelimination.com. Newdebtelimination.com. Look up top. You see a little button say donation page. Click on that, and you'll see a complete listing of all the packages that we have to offer. And that package that deals with the mortgage and foreclosure is called the Foreclosure Killer Package.
Okay, great. Thank you for that information. And it's pretty much in layman's terms for someone to understand and follow. Or do you have I'll walk your hand through the process type of procedure?
Yeah, what we do is people have to realize that I'm in one place and you're in another place. The first thing that I need to do is make sure that you have all the documentation that you're going to need, all the educational materials that you're going to need. You got videos that you can look at, and you got the actual documents. You got documents to clean up your credit. You got everything that you'll need. What I'll need for them to do is I'm going to need them to get serious about the fact that they have a problem with this mortgage, and the materials are there for them to read and to study. Now, I'm here to answer a question if you have a question. I cannot do this for you. You're in one location, I'm in another. I'm going to supply you with everything you need, but I need you to take the initiative and understand that there's no one that can save you. The only person that can save you is you. I got to make sure you have what it takes to save you.
That's why I love that parable. I was driving down the street, I saw this billboard, and on it said, "If I give you a fish, you'll eat today. If I teach you to fish, you'll eat for life." The only way you can be able to get to that point is if you are that you interact with whatever your situation, your condition is, because no one knows your situation better than you. You're limited, and to be able to explain to someone else and have for them to do it to the T, and you to have the outcome that you not only desire but deserve, you have to be able to be involved and be the one to get the credit for it, because they love to get the credit when it's going right and then point fingers when it's going wrong, but take that situation, dump it in your lap, like you the baby said, oh, you don't birth the baby, you don't clean the baby, all right, you taking over, I'm the mama. So that's what I always viewed it. So hilarious. Did you hear about Trump's new law in reference to child support? I heard that Trump passed a law to get rid of child support. Did you hear about that?
No, I don't.
Somebody told me
look
about
at
it.
the news or what's being perpetrated as news. No, I didn't hear any of that.
Supposedly he wrote this bill. And one of them was, he said, and I'm just paraphrasing, so, everyone, you can, like, Google, look this up or whatever, and then, we'll, come back to the table about it on another show, and then callers can call in and, you brought what you found about the article, if it was true or not. But, so he says he wrote a law to get rid of child support. And if anybody calls in saying that they needed help collecting child support and they had to get involved in family issue with the children, coming and taking the children. If they have to give support, get on their own on the system, then they belong to the system, they come to take them. Is that true? I guess that's the way to force people to handle their business, communicate better, contract. But what do you think about that? Because, we do, have some difficult, I want to say the other word, out there, but.
The thing is this, once again, contract, driver's license, birth certificate, social security number, all of these are someone else's contracts. And when you inform on your child, you go to the hospital and he's born in that hospital and the birth certificate's creating the stuff. Now your child is officially property of the state. If you get married, you get a minister involved that marries you. What that minister is going to do is he's going to take the registration from the marriage and he's going to file it with the state. You are now officially sold into slavery. Anything that comes out of that union are now state property. Problem at home with your child, they can send Child and Family Services and take the child because it's their property. You signed the contract. Are you allowed the contracts to exist? You had to formulate your own contract, and you had to keep other people out of your business. And if you are a man or a woman, you want to be private. See, I'm not a resident. I don't have an address. There are no numbers on my home. I don't have property. My home is situated on my land. You have to the verbiage, and you have to make sure that you're private. And the way I look at this, if you are a man or a woman, then we should act like it. You understand? And that's the way I do that. But as far as child support is concerned, if that's your child, then act like that's your child. Opt out the contracts or create another contract, or whatever you have to do, but formulate your contract to make those who are attempting to rob you liable for doing so, according to the law. You see what I'm saying? See,
right.
95% of the people locked in prison are there voluntarily. You go in the courtroom, your name, Margaret Williams. Yes, Your Honor, I'm here. You just agreed to be dead. He's got a contract right there in his hand with your title on it in all caps. So he go to adjudicating right there on you. So you had to stop that. Are you in it? What do you? How do you plead? I'm not there to plead. I'm here to settle a tax matter.
You're not here to plead. You're in a settle a tax matter, and that's within the type of court case, right?
That's any kind of court case. It's tax matter.
Okay. Now, in reference to child support, what is your view as far as the child support? People that already have entry into the contract, they can't opt out because the state Department of Revenue acts just, or the state acts just like the state does, because, like if someone has a criminal case or they make a criminal complaint and they decide they don't want to testify, they want to drop the charges, the state has the opportunity that they can decide that they want to move forward with the prosecution without the witness or without the so-called victim, rather. So I see that happens in the instance of child support, too, where they'll go in and the person who's on child support shows up, and then the person who they're collecting it for does not show up. They're there on behalf of that person because they don't want to get involved, but they say that they can move forward, and I've seen it in their websites and in their writing, they can move forward with the collection and the continuation of it without that person's permission. So someone that is in a child support situation right now, their licenses are being suspended. It's interrupting their right to contract. It's interrupting as far as commercial because they got their licenses, maybe because they're doing Uber, maybe they're doing truck driving or whatnot. And they're going back and forth with these cases, under this duress in order to make them pay, but they're attacking their livelihood, so how in the world can they get the money to pay? What is it that they can do in order to salvage their commercial contract in order for them to make money and it not be suspended and to try to dissolve the child support contract at the same time, which was involuntary because, they make you get on it if the mother or the father, whoever is the custodial parent, gets assistance.
Well, the first thing is they're assuming that they have jurisdiction on you because of the initial contracts. However, what we do, what we have done, and I would like to recommend that folks go over to my website at newdebtelimination.com. Scroll down to below the testimonial section. You'll see documents there. You'll see one where the state opt out of taking this man's money, and that was the end of that. But if you say, I owe you child support, first of all, the child belongs to me. I take care of my own child. Second of all, I'm here to settle this matter with any man that I owe. So whoever it is that's sending me a letter about child support, I want to know who's in charge at that company, because that's who I'm going to address. And I'm going to send my affidavits to him. I need a rebuttal involving the law from these affidavits, and then I'm going to go ahead on and exhaust that administrative process on them, and then I'm going to file a claim for fraud, attempted extortion on this guy. And I had a case with a guy. He was a truck driver, and he had suspended his driver's license. He had children from two different women. And we went on through the process, and when we got through with the affidavits, they sent him a letter back and saying that child support was canceled. We'd not be seeking any child support from you, and your driver's license would be reinstated. And so he went over to the DMV, and DMV told him, say, well, we can see well, all that's correct. We're looking at the letter. We're looking at the computer. You're right, but we can't issue a license. He said, well, why you can't issue me a license? He said, you got another woman pregnant down South Florida. She filed child support down there. So he called me back.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
he called me back. You know what he told me? He said, I did these two girls right here, and but I didn't tell you about the other one. He told me, he said he was saving that. He wanted to see if it was going to work on these before he do that. I said, no, man. I said, you did the wrong thing. I said, you supposed to knock all that out, man. Because
knock it all out at the same time.
The thing is this right here. First of all, they're not taking care of your children. They're not supporting your children. Okay. They're not giving them anything, and they don't care nothing about them. Those are your children. Take responsibility and get these folks out your pocket. Find out whoever it is up in there that's claiming they send you a letter, well, it's the Department of Children and Family Services. Okay, who's in charge in there? Well, you just had to make your check payable to the Department of Family. No. Who is the president? Who is the chairman of the board? Vice president? Give me a head to roll. That's what I'm looking for. Because you contacted a man with this here. And I'm here to sell with any man that I owe. If you're telling me Because, see, the building, the Department of Children and Family Services didn't write that letter. A man wrote it, or a woman wrote it. It don't matter if you ain't got no signature on it, I'm going to fine you.
Yeah, they don't want to be liable, and they know it. And that segues into our next topic, which is contract law. I know one of the points that you brought up that segues into this, you were talking about marriage licenses and how you can get married in front of a pastor. Also a notary, too. And they could marry you, and they take the certificate and they file it at the court and then send you what you think is a copy of the certificate or whatnot, and now you have been sold as a slave into the system, and that creates a whole nother stem of contracts that opens up the door for things that we just discussed just now. Now, in the rescission of those contracts, rather if you were married by not in front of the judge, but, the pastor or the notary, I was reading that you cannot get divorced unless it is signed by a judge, unless a judge divorces you. But if you didn't go before a judge to get married, why should you go before a judge to get divorced, right? So if we have the unlimited right to contract, can't we just write our own contract in terms or whatever and go before a notary or a pastor or whatever to dissolve it?
Well,
what is your take on that?
You don't even have to do that. You don't even have to do that. You and your husband, y'all can write your own marriage vows. He can invite everybody on his side of the family to the wedding. You do the same thing on your side. You got a book for everybody that's coming in there. You got the bride side and you got the groom side. They sign it. So now you got a book full of witnesses. That's your contract. You don't need a notary. If you got 3 or more witnesses,
3 or more?
That's it. Yeah, you don't need no notary. Y'all exchange vows, exchange rings if you want to, kiss and pronounce yourself husband and wife, and you got a battery of witnesses that can back you up, and you got a book that's your.
Now, how would you define that process if you were going through a divorce?
Well,
how can one get a divorce without getting it signed off by a judge? Can you write your own contract?
Okay, well, I mean, if you can do it. You can do that in reverse, and send out letters to family members, letting them know that you all are issuing each other writings of divorce. And your contract is now officially terminated. It doesn't have anything to do with the state. The state ain't nowhere in.
Pastor?
No, you ain't no court, no pastor, no nothing. Huh?
Remember you were saying earlier that they took they made a certificate and they gave it to the court. So now, as far as in the court's record with that state, you're now licensed up under them, and now, under contracts up under your marriage license. So wouldn't you rescind that or whatnot? How would you talking about for people who are legally?
You're talking about people who are already married.
People that are already married. Yeah, people that are already married and they got a marriage certificate and filed into the court. You already been sold into slavery. They already got their certificate. It's already in the court, but they did not get married like at the courthouse under the judge. They got married up under a pastor or either a notary. But they still how could they reverse that?
That's sold into slavery. If you got anybody other than you formulating a contract, the contract is designed to benefit them. If you use a notary, the notaries have to inform on you. If you're using a pastor, the pastor has to inform on you. See, that's why you have to go to a judge to get a divorce, because you already done signed their contracts.
So that's why you still. So yes, you do have to go to the judge to get divorced, or could you just go through the notary that you went to marry you to divorce you?
Well, I'm not sure about that, because I don't deal with putting a state in my business about being married to my wife, because you can't tell me nothing up in this about that. So I don't go that route. So, those people who are in that slave system, there is a way for you to get out of it. And I have that information in my files. I have to dig it up. But I only deal with the marriage system.
We got to do a show on that. We most definitely do. We got to do a show on that. We most definitely do. We got to do a show on that. We most definitely do. I think it will be a pretty hot topic. It's going to be a real hot topic, I'm telling you. Hey, some people don't jump in. They sure don't try to jump out,
Well, when you see one raise their hand, you can go ahead and I'll hold so you can bring them in and find out what the question comment is.
Okay, yes, most definitely. Anybody have any questions, raise your hand. We'll tune you in as far as any of the topics that we already discussed in reference to foreclosure, the right to travel, driver license, child support, contract law, and even some of your personal experiences that you probably have a question on how to apply or a remedy towards your situation you're not completely sure about. Student loans is on our list, on our to-do list today. So what is the big deal about the student loans? Well, I have a question, and then I hope this will help segue into this talk about student loans. So where does the money come from for student loans? We already know you can't get rid of it once it's on your credit. Bankruptcy won't get rid of it. Credit repair won't erase it. They say because it's a government debt, it doesn't qualify. So how to get rid of it, and where does the money come from that they're lending you?
First of all, you don't have
the taxpayers' dollars. It should.
First of all, I had a police officer contact me. He said he was a police officer and he was from up north, and he wanted to know about the student loan. I said, well, first of all, did the people send you anything in writing claiming that they were going to give you a loan to go to school? He said, yes, they did. I said, okay. You signed the paper, sent it back to them, right? He said, yes, I did. I said, did they send you a check? He said, no, they didn't. But they sent you a bill. Am I right? He said, that's right. I said, what you think now? He said, I see what you're saying. I said, okay. So if you tell me you're going to give me a loan to go to school, and I fill out the paperwork and send it back to you, then you send me something, say, congratulations, your class is over here and the school is located over here, and you go there on this date. Well, where's the loan? Where's the loan for me to go to school? I didn't need you to dictate to me where to go to school. I need you to give me a loan. So what we do is, once again, we formulate our contracts and we bring it into question, and we exhaust it through administrative process and eliminate it. And if it's on our credit report, then we use our tools for getting rid of that, because we have confirmation that it no longer exists.
Now, my question about that is this. So we know the way they're doing things now is that if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever you desire to be, you're going to look for a school, whether if you're going to do correspondence online, if you're going to go in person to do your studies, you're going to find that school that offers that specialty. Then they have a financial aid department that you apply for the loan through. You sign paperwork saying that they're going to be the recipient of the money. It's going to come through them. And then they turn around and between Pell Grants and between loans, that they also have this thing, especially if you're doing online school, where they calculate housing expenses and things of that nature, books and whatnot into it. And then they let whatever portion, depending on how much time that you've been going to school, go towards the school, because the school, remember, the school receives all of the funds from the federal government in which they're receiving the money from. And then one portion goes towards tuition and books, and then the other portion they'll send ACH to you or a check to you in the mail for to stay at home, to do your school work, for housing and things of that nature. So are you saying that changes the game a little bit, that if you do receive money from them, rather than through a check or ACH, that you agree to the loan, but it's limited to the amount of money they gave you and the rest of it can be forgiven?
If you receive a check from them, you make copies of that as evidence of the fact of what you owe them, and you can pay that to them. But I'm talking about in most cases, no one's receiving anything, and student loans are not designed to be paid off. You got people that was guaranteed a loan. The loan was $30,000. They end up paying $45,000 back, but they still owe $124,000. You see what I'm saying? So you either go for that ride, or either you stop the car. One or two. It's totally left up to you. You do that by formulating your contracts and send it the other way. Bring this thing into question. Put all the tables on the board. Expose that fraud. Find out who in that office, and that's who you're going to talk to. In writing. No evidence, no case.
That's awesome news. We're going to get ready to go to commercial break, and when we return, we're going to be dealing with citizenship and nationality. Hopefully we'll have Prince Jamel Osiris on the line. So you're going to enjoy some of these great commercial breaks when we return.
Okay.
This is Moorish Talk Live 100. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Rahchamah. Need office space, a business phone system, or a business address for your home-based, mobile, online, expanding, or downsizing business? Go to www.businessfront.space. You can reserve fully furnished private office or meeting space by the hour, utilities and Wi-Fi included. Reserve now at www.businessfront.space. Never miss your mail with our informed delivery service. No matter where you are in the world, sign up for a physical address today at www.businessfront.space. Calling all singers, rappers, musicians, and entertainers. Yah Heard Radio has radio promotion for you. Yah Heard. Download our app, Yah Heard Radio. That's YAHHEARD Radio from your Google Play Store today. Yah Heard Radio provides a commercial platform for independent artists. Tune in our live stream at www.yahheardradio.com and join our international listeners for commercial-free clean music in all genres. Have your music played among the best. Build your fan base, receive licensing and royalty opportunities. For promotion or more information, go to our Contact Us page at www.yahheardradio and create your login credentials for access to log in to sign up. For more information, call 904-900-5517. Yah Heard.
Setting up your trust is one of the greatest financial moves you can ever make for yourself and your family. Learn how to do that by visiting newdebtelimination.com. Our secure party and creditor package is the best, complete with everything you need to know and beyond. Don't hesitate to contact me, Tarhaka, Amaana, El Bay, for more information. 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's newdebtelimination.com. Now it's time to set up your trust. This is for very serious people only. If you're a serious individual, contact me, 904-303-9061, or visit newdebtelimination.com.
Blessings. I am Iyanla Van Zandt, and welcome to the R Spot. If you're a first timer, we're so glad that you joined us, and want to remind you to subscribe to Iyanla Van Zandt's YouTube channel so that you'll get a notice every time a new R Spot episode is launched. And if you're continuing on this journey with us, you know we've been having a good time talking about all things related to relationships. Today's topic is probably the one that I should have started with, but I know had I started here, you would have never come back for episode 2, because our conversation today is about the relationship you are having with yourself. Whew, that's a deep one. Because every relationship that you have in your life, or that you've ever had in your life, with every single person, is a reflection of the relationship that you are having with yourself. People come into our life, into our experience, to show us, to demonstrate, to reflect and mirror back to us the places and pieces and parts of ourselves that we cannot see, are unwilling to see, that we deny or dismiss or ignore. Every relationship in your life is a reflection of the relationship that you're having with yourself. Now, right now, if you're having some resistance to that, if you're thinking about your ex or your ex-mother-in-law or your girlfriend or somebody that betrayed you, and your mind is telling you that can't be true, that's not right, that's it. That's it right there. Because there are parts of us, there are things about us that we simply cannot see. Sometimes we don't want to see. Sometimes we see and then we ignore or deny. You see, each and every one of us has what we call a shadow part. That's the part of us that we hide and cover and covet. Those pieces and aspects and things about ourselves that we find unpleasant or unacceptable. We tuck them away in the shadow. And someone will come into our life and reflect a light on that shadow. And that's when we see it. We see it in them. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Let's take, for example, your Aunt Mabel. Aunt Mabel works your last good nerve. I mean, when she comes around, everything she does, every way she does it, what she says and how she is, just works your last good nerve. And you really work with yourself not to just go in on her. I mean, really go in on her, because that's Aunt Mabel, and you want to be respectful. But here's the piece that you're missing. If you didn't recognize it, you wouldn't be able to identify it. And when Aunt Mabel isn't around, you can give a minute description of everything about her that you don't like. Everything she does and the way she does it, you can recount it because there is a part of you that recognizes it. So, instead of getting upset with Aunt Mabel, instead of picking Aunt Mabel apart, when she does something that triggers you, ask yourself, why is that upsetting me? How do I do that? When do I do that? Under what circumstances do I behave in that way, the same way as Aunt Mabel? Because Aunt Mabel is shining a light on your shadow. Aunt Mabel, Uncle Sam, your co-worker, your supervisor, the bank teller, everybody else. People come into our lives and they mirror back to us the pieces and parts of ourselves that we cannot, will not, do not want to see. And it's all a reflection of the relationship that we're having with ourselves. Do you love you? I mean, really love and accept you? Do you trust you? Do you trust your own thoughts and feelings? Do you honor you? Do you respect you? And where did you learn how to do that? Because so many of us have a disjointed or dysfunctional relationship with ourselves because of what we've seen and what we've been taught and what we've been told. And the relationship that we have with ourselves more often than not mirrors what we've been taught and what we've seen and what we've experienced. But in order to truly grow and evolve in our soul and our way of being, we want to develop a relationship with ourselves, a good, solid, loving, functional relationship with ourselves. So how do you do that, Miss Iyanla? How do you develop a relationship with yourself? Well, it starts here. Who am I? Not what do I do? Who am I? not the roles that I fill. Who am I when the lights are off and I'm naked and I stand before the mirror? Who am I? This is a question you must answer. Not who were you taught to be, who were you told to be, who you think you should be. Who are you? And there's a very simple way to find out. Ask yourself, pencil to paper, who am I? I am a woman. Who am I? I am a creative being. Who am I? What are those things about you that come forward, those things that make you tick, those things that pump you up, those things that drag you down? Who am I? You've got to answer that question. And don't judge yourself if you don't know it. So very often we think if we're 30 or 40 or 50 years old, we need to know. But how many of us have really sat and asked the question? We know what we do. We know what is expected of us. We know what our obligations and responsibilities are. But who am I in the middle of the night when I wake up and there's nobody there? Who am I in a crowd of people where I feel uncomfortable, or where everybody's in a pink dress and I've got on a green one? Who am I then? Who am I? Answer that question. The next step to really developing a healthy relationship with yourself is understanding what matters to you. What do you value? Do you value freedom? Do you value peace? Do you value external validation? Do you value children or animals? What do you value and what matters to you? How do you discover that? Again, pen to paper. What matters to me is. What matters to me is. What matters to me is. Because very often we go into relationships and settle for less than we want, deserve, or desire because we don't know what matters to us and we don't know how to ask for it, and more often than not, we don't expect to get it. But when you know who you are, when you know what you value, when you know what matters to you, every relationship that you go into, you will expect and you will receive reciprocation for who you are and what you give and what matters and what you value, because you will attract to you more of who you are. And when you're clear about who you are and when you're clear about what matters, well, like draws like. That's just the law. That's how it works. The next step, see yourself. See yourself at your best and see yourself as your worst, and don't judge it. Accept it. Self-acceptance. There are some things about me that I love, and there are some things about me that I'd rather nobody ever knew. But you know what I've learned to do? I've learned to put that stuff out front. I don't hide it. I don't deny it. I don't lie about it. And when it shows up in my face, either in someone else's behavior or when I'm in my stuff, doing my thing, I accept it. Self-acceptance. See yourself. Know yourself. Know what makes you tick. Know what brings you peace, what brings you joy, what makes you happy. Know what makes you crazy. There are some things that make me crazy. Brooklyn crazy. And I just accept that about myself, and I try to announce it. Listen, that right there, what you're doing is making me crazy, and if you don't stop, I'm going total Brooklyn on you. Okay? See yourself. Know yourself. Accept yourself. Accept all of who you are without judging it. So very often we think we should be somewhere else, doing something else. We think we should be in another place in life and we should have more. Well, if you don't know who you are and what matters and what values, what you got is what you've created from a lack of knowledge of yourself. See yourself. Know yourself. Accept yourself without judgment. Without judgment. Don't make you wrong about who you are, what you've done, what you haven't done, and where you are. Because as you really learn who you are and what you value and what makes you tick, and as you accept all of it as a part of who you are, the light part, the shadow part, things are going to start moving. See yourself, know yourself, accept yourself. Appreciate yourself. No matter where you are today, you got you there. The good and the not so good. No matter who you are today, you've been with you through it all. Appreciate who you are. And finally, honor yourself. Honor your feelings. Honor your thoughts. Honor your gifts. Honor your strengths. Honor your weaknesses. Work on those things that need to be worked on. Give yourself permission to explore, to stand up, to fall down, to not be perfect all the time. Honor who you are, where you are, what you do, how you do it, and commit yourself to be better. Because as you learn who you are, you'll shift, you'll change. As your values grow and evolve, you'll do things better. Some things you won't do at all anymore. This is how we learn to build a relationship with ourselves. And it's important because who you are will attract people into your life to mirror back to you more of who you are. It is absolutely essential. Whether you're 20 or 30 or 60 or 79, to have a loving, healthy, fulfilling relationship with yourself on your good days and on your bad days. Because who you are and how you are with you will attract people into your life to give you more of the same. So, instead of being upset about being left, instead of being disturbed about feeling used or manipulated, look at how you do that to you. Because how you treat yourself trains people about how they're going to treat you. So, hope you got some tips from today and that you'll join me next time right here on the R Spot. In the meantime, stay in peace, not in pieces.
Welcome back to the show. You're listening to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch, and I hope that you are enjoying this comfy couch. We have our guest today, Tarhaka, Amaana El Bay, and we have been talking about some important issues that hit home, giving you some remedies and foreclosure, child support, contract law, driver's license, freedom of right to travel, student loans, and we also went over some personal experiences that Tarhaka was able to share with us that started his journey into coming up with the remedies that he is able to provide for you today to give conflict and resolution to your issues. So as we returned, we said that we were going to be dealing with citizenship and nationality. And in reference to citizenship and nationality, we know that you have the right to a nationality. You have the right to change your nationality. And I want to go into that topic of that discussion at this moment. Tarhaka, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Great, thanks. Now, this is one of my issues with changing nationalities. Well, actually, just with the right to have a nationality. So I got to this point, here's my little story, where, I'm looking at the boxes that you can check, whether it's black, white, Asian, blah, 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 blah. It's on every application. It stems from that Senate Form 181. And I found out that which stems from the Department of Budget and Management, they were the ones who classified everyone as far as their race and ethnicity is concerned for a censorship for discrimination and employment, blah, blah, blah. So my issue is I said, well, I want to know who said that I was black? Who said that I was African-American? I noticed that it changed every 20 years. And who is making all these changes? They are so undecisive. Whoever's doing cares, everyone else is. They're not changing. So, I wanted to know behind that, because if I'm supposed to be a descendant of slaves, which is what African Americans are titled, or blacks are supposed to be titled as far as their ancestral history, then where's my manifesto? Who said I was this? And as I discovered that it had nothing to do with the color of your skin, it actually had to do where your people originated from. It ties you to a continent. So if I have the right to a nationality, but no one can give me anything, as I mentioned before, in black and white, saying that this is what my nationality is, other than acquiescence, because they say, when you're filling out applications, that's what you put down. And I went to the Department of Vital Statistics and say, you got my status wrong, you put me down as black or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And they say, man, we don't put no race down or no ethnicity down for a child. Yes, you do. Da, 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 da. And then you show in the paperwork, in actuality, you don't. It's the parent that actually marks down what they want to be classified for themselves, but there is not one for the child. So as you grow older, you're putting down whatever you are stipulating on applications what your citizenship is. So what is the process of not only just changing nationality and the point of it, but also establishing it, and how can we deal with what we have been entitled to today?
Well, I regard nationality in the process that I use as being a private matter. If I didn't give anyone the right to label me as black, then which is not a nationality at all, just a label. It is up to me to declare my nationality, describe it, and have clear information that verifies this, that's backed up by correct historical records. And we get that information from our government. So when I registered with the Moorish government, I declared my name, and I declared my nationality as Moorish. Then I understood that I'm also a descendant of the ancient African Egyptians, so a Moorish/Egyptian. But always, never regarding myself as an Egyptian, but always regarding myself as a descendant of the ancient African Egyptians. So there's a total difference. It can only be someone that looks like me. Now, that information is private, so that's registered with my government. I've made that a public record in anybody else's system. And when I get ready to do that, it will be listed and recognized by the highest authorities on the planet. And we'll be doing that quite soon. But as of now, I do have a nationality. I'm prepared if I'm denationalized or regarded as a denationalized individual in writing, then I do have the power to sue that individual for denationalization, because denationalization is a crime that ranks with genocide and treason. If you notice, well, you probably wouldn't know anything about it, but people who have gone to jail and prison of African descent, they have them listed race black, BLK, meaning black. And on your applications and all of this stuff, I never fill that out regarding myself as black, because I'm not black. There's no such people on the face of the planet. There are no black people. Because all the people with a nationality.
But you do know they say that if you don't put nothing down, and it's on that Center for 181, whoever that form goes to, that they can make an observation of what they think you are and mark the box without you even present. You don't even know if this information can turn in about you. So it's important to put something down.
Okay. Well, the way I look at that, and I'm glad I went the route that I did, the FBI asked me. He said, if your nationality is Moorish American, did you file that? You didn't file that down in the court, did you? I said, no, that's private. I said, that's filed with my government. So he was trying to see if I went down there making an attempt to get somebody downtown to recognize me as a Moor. No, I'm not going to do that. The only thing I'm looking at is whether or not you regard me as black. That's all I need to know. I'll do the rest. I was downtown one day, incarcerated, and I noticed that everybody in there had on their documentation it had black. But on my document, it didn't even have race or black. It didn't have neither one. And I was asking them, do you have any more paperwork? Any more paperwork? And they wouldn't give me nothing that say that. I was really hoping I got just one piece of it. That's all I needed. But they made sure they didn't give me none of that. So it's totally left up to you. See, nobody can make you, if you're a Moor, nobody can make you a Moor. You was born one. If you're the descendants of ancient African Egyptians, you were born one. All people with a nationality, that nationality is associated with a landmass. You cannot have Indians regarded as native Indians in America, but then you got a whole species of people in a country called India regarding themselves as Indians. So something's wrong with that. We got all these labels. What's a Puerto Rican? What's a Hispanic? What is that? If I'm Chinese, there's a land called China. If I'm Japanese, there's a land called Japan. If I'm Cuban, there's a land called Cuba. If I'm Mexican, there's a land called Mexico. So where black land at? Where white land? Where Hispanic?
Or where African American land at?
Yeah. Negro,
as well
color,
as Afro-American, colored, Negro. Well, actually, there was a Negro land. There was Negro land. That was over there in Africa years ago. The whole freaking continent at that. But you know, the interesting thing is that nationality, like you were saying, is, you know, what you were born as. You're born as being that. So, you know, being over here in America, your nationality is American. So if you are saying that you're a Moorish American, does that mean that you are now changing your nationality?
If you
from being American to being Moorish?
Every man, according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, every man has a right to a nationality, and every man and woman has a right to change their nationality. But when you're talking about a nationality, all nationalities, all people with a nationality, that nationality is associated with a landmass. If we can understand that part right there, then that's how we're able to successfully align up.
I think that the confusion is.
Mm-hmm.
I think the confusion is that people need to know that there's a difference between, because they put out, we were talking about terminology earlier, right, when we were talking about the driver's license. So we're going to apply that same concept to this subject, because now we're dealing with three topics: race, ethnicity, the nationality, or a nationality. So the three different terms: nationality meaning one thing, if you're automatically that, if you're born into it or you're married into it, that's another one. It's even up under the Constitution, 14th Amendment. That's what they call 14th Amendment citizen upon the nationality. But then when we're talking about race and ethnicity, then that's where we're filling out those codes: black, white, Pacific Islander, so on and so forth. So with looking at those different terminologies in the Declaration of Human Rights, saying you have a right to a nationality, okay, they're saying, yeah, you have a right to say that I don't belong to this organization or group of people that majority is over here at this continent, rather if it's China, Europe, Iran, America. So rather from American, Indian, Mexican, that's nationality. But what does black, white, Asian fall up under? We know it fall up under race and ethnicity, but what does that fall in place with it? What does that have to do with the Declaration of Rights?
Well, the way I look at that is this: people who are allowing themselves are not doing anything about declaring a nationality. They are in agreement that they are wearing all these labels. I call them citizens of the United States Corporation. Chattel property, slavery. Now, when it comes to nationality, I've told you what my nationality was. However, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I am a Floridian. Reside in the state of Florida. I reside in Florida State. That's my location, which has nothing to do with my nationality. It has to do with my current location. But if I say that I'm a citizen of the United States, the United States is not a country, it's a corporation. A corporation can't have no citizens. So that means that I'm saying I'm somebody's property. If I say the state of Florida, that means that the corporation has control there. But I'm reside in Florida State as a Floridian. In other words, what I'm saying is I reside in a country called Florida. Each state is a separate country being ruled over by a corporation.
Now, it's something I want to say about that in closing. So I'm taking up this class, International Relations, and we were talking about the different governmental entities like NGOs and, things like that. And I found out that they have something called a corporate citizen with international relationships, and that reminds me when you were just saying that is the adaptation that these entities are taking because they're dealing with terminology, of course, in order to have us to adjust to thinking that we're still a part of those systems. And that is something that we're going to go into depth more on our subject of citizenship and nationality on one of our next episodes coming up in the future. In closing, I would like for you, for about 30 seconds, to give your final thoughts.
Well, I would just like everybody to catch us on the fourth Sunday this month, me and Dr. Walter Williams discussing part 2 of our previous topic, and that information will be posted. And for those of you who have problems with that, go to newdataelimination.com, and my contact information is there. Be more than happy to assist you. That's all.
Okay, awesome. And you can always catch Rahchamah's Conscious Couch every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Tarhaka's broadcast. We look forward to hearing you again. And in the meantime, get off of my couch. Hi, I'm Rahchamah. Need office space, a business phone system, or a business address for your home-based, mobile, online, expanding, or downsizing business? Go to www.businessfront.space. You can reserve fully furnished private office or meeting space by the hour, utilities and Wi-Fi included. Reserve now at www.businessfront.space. Never miss your mail with our informed delivery service. No matter where you are in the world, sign up for a physical address today at www.businessfront.space. Calling all singers, rappers, musicians, and entertainers. Yah Heard Radio has radio promotion for you. Yah Heard. Download our app, Yah Heard Radio. That's YAHHEARD Radio from your Google Play Store today. Yah Heard Radio provides a commercial platform for independent artists. Tune in our live stream at www.yahheardradio.com and join our international listeners for commercial-free clean music in all genres. Have your music played among the best. build your fan base, receive licensing and royalty opportunities. For promotion or more information, go to our Contact Us page at www.yahheardradio and create your login credentials for access to log in to sign up. For more information, call 904-900-5517. Yah Heard.
You've been listening to Moorish Talk Live 100 with Tarhaka Amaana El Bey. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Peace.